So this video right here is for the parents for the most part. So my background, a large part of my background is with special ed and mental health. I have this passion for a variety of behaviors, right? And so one thing that I've ran into, over the years, but I just began to revisit is, parents tend to allow therapists or whomever to grant a particular diagnosis over their child, not realizing that it's not so much of a diagnosis but a behavior, if that makes sense. So just long story short, talk to somebody, their child diagnosed with ODD, oppositional defiancy disorder, I believe. I think that's what that is. Anyways, and we got to talking for a while. And me being me, because I done been around behaviors, I got my kids, niece, nephew, all this, that, and a little studying, and it was like, so how did you treat him growing up? Like, did you have him spoiled rotten? You give him everything that he wanted, and whoop the woo, whoop the woo, whoop the woo. Yes, but there was also reasoning with why I did this. Validating their behaviors towards this child. So now, as this child begins to grow and begin to want certain things their way, and this, and I can't handle them, I don't know what to do, what's going to go on, somebody help me, and I take him, and because he's defiant, I get him labeled. But what we don't understand, because even with me, I've had a couple of labels myself, and there was a time when there was labels that wanted to be placed upon my child. So what we don't realize sometimes as parents, and I never dealt with the ODD. That's like a no, because therefore Anyways, but we don't realize that we play a role in the behaviors of our children as well. That's why it is important to begin to train your child from a smaller age. Does that mean that child is going to be perfect? No, it does not. Because I'm gonna be real with you, my son was in, Mississippi with my uncles and my cousins, having some man time, you know what I mean? But it does set a foundation. It sets a foundation because sometimes we don't realize, they start off all cute and cuddly and this and that and that, but they have to grow into adulthood as well. And what we want to do for our babies, we want to be able to give them enough knowledge and education that when they do push away or they do leave or they begin to grow and develop, they know what's instilled in them, y'all. Now check this out when it comes down to those labels being removed. Yes, they have that label. Yes, they may actually get services if it's needed. But what happens whenever you are improperly diagnosed? From people that I've been around with ODD, and I had a therapist, and I'm being real with you, that tried to diagnose my son with ODD, and I'm like, no, you're not. You're not going to do it. Well, he is. He did it. He's not. Sometimes we cannot advocate for our children because we cannot advocate for ourselves. So what are we going to do about that? I had a call coming through. That's when not only does our shadow work help for us, but our shadow work works for our kids. Parenting while traumatized affects your children in an infinite amount. Oh my goodness gracious. It's very important. Healing is important for not only you, but the people that's around you as well. But your focus is on you. I'm not going to hold this video long, but before you allow a label to get up on your child, make sure you have exhausted all your resources and really evaluated not only your baby, because they all babies to me. I don't care how old they get. They all babies, right? But you did some evaluation on yourself. If I'm not mistaken, I can't think of the author of this book, but it's been a little while because my grandma, she used to have me reading a lot of books by a lot of Seventh-day Adventist authors, because I had my phase of that. I learned a lot until I learned like this is my path that I want to be in. And if I'm not mistaken, it was like most of the time the children's personality is set at like the age of 6, which makes sense. I've done a lot of observation, not only with my children, but children around me in the community, nieces and nephews and stuff like that. And, within myself, going back doing my shadow work and trauma healing. Parenting is not easy. But we owe it to our children to give them a fair opportunity not to use the excuses on how we was raised to validate the what we do for them. We have to give them that fair opportunity. But when it comes down to labels, yes, some diagnoses are just there. They're accurate. But some of them, you have to be so aware when you allow that to be placed on your babies. How is it going to be removed? Because I'm going to tell you one thing, even from working in the schools, one thing for certain is just like kids talk and people talk in the streets, they talk in the school as well. That label goes. And just like any street label is hard to remove, it's the same thing that happens when we do, with our children. Sometimes some of those kids that act out really need to be just sit down and talk to. Some of it goes a little deeper, which may take therapy. Sometimes therapy without just a harsh label. You know what I'm saying? I try to run away from this thing when it comes down to dealing with kids and behaviors. And these past few days alone has been like, where you at, sis? Where you at? I'm here just figuring some things out. But y'all take that time to do some analyzations, not only just on your children, but yourself. Because there's some type of correlation in there. And the root and cause need to be fixed. I realized and I learned that, some of the things that each one of my children possess, and I say this all the time, are things that I even had to work in that I tried to bury and run away. And it's like, ta-da, try to make you disappear. It ain't like I'm back. You still got to deal with it. All is well, my family. All is well. As it will be. I am the leading boss lady. I love you guys so much. I love you so much. Until we meet again, Ashe.